Hey, I'm Cortavius. Big news in Raid, some of which by the time you watch this, it's already in-game. Raid, I give Plarium credit. They really brought some great improvements to this patch and some good news for upcoming patches and upcoming changes. So the big first one is free gear removal. So, I'm still not used to it, but it's in the game now, free gear removal. So if I go to my quests and I go to advance, I still find myself going, wait a minute, win 3 artifacts, where's my free gear token? Oh wait, I don't need the 1 hour token, do I? Or if I want to move gear on champs, I'm like, oh wait, maybe I should wait. Oh wait, no, I don't have to wait. I can do that now. So I'm growing used to it. Of course, my biggest problem is if I go into my storage, my artifacts are full. I somehow have 6 accessories available. So the free gear removal doesn't do you any good if you can't move any gear because you're locked out. So one thing I've always wished they had done is locked us at 1600, but in the game, there's 1612 actual spots in the coding. So if you wanted to move gear, you can move gear with a full gear. I don't know why they can't have that. So in the coding, create 12 more spots for both accessories and artifacts so we can still move gear even when our gear is full. It doesn't have to drop into the gear and then go to the next champ and have it blocked. Create some extra spaces in the back of your game that we can't fill. I think that's an easy solution to make free gear swaps amazing. But for now, don't have that, or forever probably. So we got to move our own stuff and make space anytime you want to move gear. But I do think it offers the ability in this case, though, to question for artifacts, how much do you need to carry? So if you can use those presets, you get 5 on a champ and 50. I'm hoping that's enough. It has, to date, I haven't used it. But if you can create enough good presets, then you can move gear around at an easy swap, then go into your artifacts and say, do I need to keep as many of these pieces of gear that I used to? Or can I free up some more gear spots then because I don't have to worry about putting them on all kinds of champs? So I think there's a way then to cut down a lot more of the gear out of that for artifacts. Accessories will still be a mess, and I'll cover that more later. So free gear swaps really makes moving gear around on champions a whole lot easier. That's a pain point for new accounts too. And for new accounts, if you click the link in the description below, you can grab Narma on a brand new account. You get 3 epics, best epic in the game, Uugo, Mausoleum Mage, and Anax. All you got to do is follow 4 steps. Step 1, log out of Plarium Play on the PC and uninstall. Step 2, click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Step 3, launch Raid, complete the tutorial. Step 4, go to your inbox. Narma's sitting there. Get the epics as you progress. Enter the code Demon Slayer. Get Tholen, a nuker, added to your account. And get the 7-day login, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, added to your account. That's a pretty fun way to start. So we mentioned free gear swaps. The next one is in super raids. So right now it's still got a counter running, but they did say they're going to go permanent on that. So we will get super raids permanent for a minnow. That's not a resource saver. You still spend the same resources. And actually it's slightly worse because when you go from the white scrolls to the green and from the green to the red, if you run a super raid and you only needed 3 scrolls, you're burning double energy for those 3 scrolls. So it screws you when you go over the barriers. It doesn't say, oh, you need 3 more whites, there's those, I'll give you the 3 whites. But your next raid would have given you some green scrolls. They just give you the 3 white. So poor coding, hopefully they fix that. But so it burns a little more resources, but it cuts the time in half. So it's a time saver, not a resource saver. But I'll take it because it's a time saver. I think that's the biggest thing they actually need in Raid is taking time out of the game. I think gear swaps help. I think the super raids and minnow help, but there's a lot more they could do there. So more gear filters coming. So we do have gear filters in here, but honestly, they're okay. So you can do a lot of things with finding gear. But one thing I'd like to do more than anything usually is what gear do I want to roll up? I want to see all my gear that's levels 1 through 11, for example. What do I need to roll up? I can't do that in here. So to me, that's the most compelling thing I'd like to be able to find is my unrolled gear. If I haven't, added any of the gear, I can try and filter by new, but once your new gear filter falls off, you're done. So more gear filters coming, didn't specify when, that'll be good. Friendly arena next year. So being able to come into arena and do friendly fights, I think that offers up a new functionality in the game that will be compelling if they build it right. The ability for your clan to run a little tournament in PvP, if you're in a cluster like I'm in OVB, it's a huge cluster. We could do a cluster tournament. That'd be crazy fun. For new people, for beginners, for accounts in this level. Epics only, rares only. If they build it right, they could make a lot of fun. Even if it's just simply invite somebody and you can fight each other, well, then you can test teams out against somebody else. So even a simplistic version will at least add some functionality. But they have the ability to make it an incredible function. That would be really cool. So that is next year. Tavern quality of life, they did say, hey, they're not done here. They've done some cool stuff with the instant upgrades, the instant rank up, the ability not to sit there and wait for the champ to do their dance or whatever, but you can just click and get past it. So they've done some nice stuff in Tavern over the past year, but they're going to do some more stuff in there. Classic Arena reset for those that care, which is probably not a lot of you, so I won't spend much time on it, but they will actually set up Classic Arena for like the plat reset to not be only at the 4 a.m. in my time or whatever it is in every time zone. It's often not convenient for anybody. But when it ends for you, your points will be locked. And then they'll just let each, this is what they're thinking, is your points would be locked. And then as each time zone finishes, their points are locked, and we see how it stacks up. So it's convenient to your time zone. That would be pretty cool. Maybe I give Platinum Arena a shot. I think I've only tried once a long time ago in the main. I was like, this just isn't worth it. So it would be fun to come back. Of course, I don't have 72 mythicals, so maybe it's not worth it anymore. Maybe I missed my window. So live arena will always be open is what they're going to get to. They said early next year, instead of being open for an hour and a half here, it'll be open forever. So you can do live arena anytime. Some of you are like, well, I didn't want to do live arena at any time, so being open all the time doesn't matter. But hey, if you want to go get your advanced quest done, which I do actually like the fact that it went to complete one live arena battle. That's fun. And the win a live arena battle is one where you can actually reset it if you want to. So I think that change in the advanced quest was nice because complete one live arena battle, you don't care if you win or lose. So I typically on both accounts do my one battle a day. But now that it's complete, half the time, if I don't win, I don't win. So next one, new faction coming. So there is one more spot in Faction Wars available, and that's the hidden one here. That will be Greek and Romans. Okay, there are some really cool champs you can put in there, but I'd also say it's low on excitement factor for me. You can do some cool champs in there, don't get me wrong. I actually do question, though, that there's champs sitting in other factions that they'd say, well, can I reclass them over to Greeks and Romans? But it'll be a fun faction, but they could have done something fun, crazy, mythical type stuff, fantasy adventure stuff, aquatics, weird stuff. So it could have been less, typical history stuff, right? But I'm sure Raid will make incredible fun champs that look really cool because that's the best thing they do in the game. The design team's the best thing Raid's got running for it. So I'll rip through a bunch of things that they said are not coming. So no Chimera quick battles coming anytime soon. So we will keep doing that content, because it's new content for them, right? So nothing new coming there. No Doom Tower instant battles coming. They have the climb the tower automatic, and you've got super raids, but no instant battles in Doom Tower, which would be nice because this is older content now, but they still want you working on your team. No offline battles, so we do multi-battles, but they're not going to be one where you could just run it in the background, turn your phone off, and go do something. Those aren't coming. They want engagement. They want time in game. No increase in rebalancing. They're doing 2 at best a month in rebalances. They're not going to increase those any faster. They talked about the complexity and how it could shift the meta. I don't know. Excuses, personally. No energy cap increase. We will stay at the 130. No Hydra or Curse City changes planned for those. So no new difficulty levels. No real change in content in those areas. No new shard types, no void mythicals in the foreseeable future. There will be vault space next year that they plan to add more. I think for artifacts, I'm good with that. Honestly, I'm good with 1,600 because I feel like with artifacts, they give me 7,000 spots, I'll eventually fill it up. So I think it's more about management. And I think the free gear swaps will make that far more manageable. I think we can carry less artifacts, fewer artifacts because of free gear swaps being available all the time now. You just need to create more presets, move gear more often, and You know, maybe your core faction war champs, you just want to have gear on them and let the factions run. But for for Chimera, for Hydra, put some gear over, put those champs geared up, get into the fight, put that gear back where it was. So I think you can do that. Accessories, I think, are still a royal mess. And I think adding 200 more spots in accessories is just crap. It's just not feasible. So I just did some quick math. If you take the 16 factions that we'll have, including the new faction, and then you look at the fact we have 3 ring types, because remember, if you go into ring types and you go by rings, primary stats, I got HP, attack, and defense, right? So 3 ring types, 4 amulet types, 5 banner types, and if you take all the different types of accessory groups, all the 9-piece sets, so you've got reaction, protection, feral, you know, the rebirth, pinpoint, blood shield, slayer, so all of those, there's, I think, roughly about 15 of those now, and they're expanding them, so I'm undercutting that. If you just multiply that out, and you kept 1 of everything, that's 2,880 pieces, which means you only get to keep 1 HP reaction ring, 1 defense reaction ring. So if you kept 1 of everything, that's 2,880 of 1 of everything. You only get 1,600 slots. So you're almost half of the only 1 per type. You couldn't even get, you'd only be halfway, and you'd be out of space. That is a crazy mess in how the accessories work. With artifacts, you don't times by the 15 types and 16 factions. So you can keep far more artifacts. But those faction multipliers just make that crazy. What I think they need to do is, instead of having these by faction, they need to do these by alliance. And what do I mean by that? If I go to the index, we've got Talarian, Galen, Corrupted, Nysarian. I mean, ideally, they do it like artifacts, and they wouldn't be different, but they're not going to do that. But if they at least could do them by alliance instead of by faction, then you would be able to save your accessories across the alliances instead of factions. So that takes 16 factions down to 4 alliances. In that case, you only have 720 pieces if you keep 1 of everything. Well, now 2 of everything, I'm back to 1,400. So it's not great, you know, because you're still going to run out of space. But it's at least somewhat realistic, somewhat possible. So you go from 1,600 down to 720 just by doing that. I think that's what they need to do. They need to make these accessories by alliance. That would be a huge change that they could make. Otherwise, I think it's just going to be a pain, and they keep rolling out new 9-piece sets, which just makes it worse and worse. So anyway, that's what I think they need to do there. Another big time in Game 1 is they do plan on bringing 3 times super raids in instead of just 2 times, so that will cut some time down. You know, even Minotaur then, I mean, that's a nice reduction. Instead of half the time, it's a third of the time. So if you need to do a tournament to get through a fusion, you can blow through it in 3 times the time. So I think that will be a nice improvement. Yeah, instant battles everywhere would be fantastic, but they want the time in game up. So that will be a change. Relics. So one thing that's been frustrating is in relics, you know, the chances of getting the chance of getting a good relic just suck. So, but they said the chances of getting better relics is not going to increase. But they are looking at over here, if you're running for the event, you know, there's 50% chance you're going to get the standard and 50% for the special thing you're pulling for, whether it's clan, chaos, or Alice, whatever it is. They said they are thinking about putting boosts in. So that would increase your chance of getting the boosted relic, the special relic, instead of the standard. Which makes me think, do I just hoard my materials and wait for that to come out instead of pulling my Chaos Awakes now? So maybe they only do it when there's one running for that particular event, and they won't come back to these ones like clans or chaos that you've been sitting on. So maybe I don't need a hoard, but it is an interesting thought process whether you hold on to those. So more mini games like that Elhane's Vampire game, that was only on Plarium Play though, so if you were on mobile, you were screwed. So there, we're going to do more of those. So I think that's it for the stuff that I saw coming. You know, overall, I'd say the free gear swap is fantastic. You know, the best thing that I talked about in this video. I think the friendly battles in Arena is new content that could be crazy beneficial. I think the rest of the stuff is just good stuff, spot on. But props to Plarium. You know, you feel like it's years late and painful, but gee, at least it's finally here. So that's it. Hey, I hope that was informative and at least compacted a couple videos down into one for you and you found it good. So, hey, have a great day.